Hello, I'm Terry Williams, President and founder of Panache Career Strategies. I am passionate about helping people become the best of who they are. As a certified and licensed executive presence expert, I help people with their professional skills through consultations and training in a number of focus areas, which include communications, gravitas, leadership, etiquette, and appearance. Welcome to today's seminar, Military Professionals, Why Professional and Executive Presence Are Important. First, let me take a moment to share my gratitude with the current and former members of the Armed Forces. As a veteran myself, I thank you for your service, courage, and selfless service to our nation. Now let's proceed. The topic of executive and professional presence today yields 73 million results from Google in 30 seconds. Equally, Amazon currently has over 1,800 books on the topic of executive presence. In this lesson, I will share with you why professional and executive presence are important today and how we can help you. Let's take a look. Today's agenda is a bit robust, but I would like to share that we will focus on two major areas for today's seminar. First, why is this topic important? And second, what is professional and executive presence? Our courses on the how to demonstrate professional executive presence will be discussed later. Our agenda, as you can see, is to focus on the two major areas so that we can move through the topic. The Obama administration says military personnel should not have to fight for a job. Today, between 700,000 to 800,000 veterans are on the job market at any given time. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, nationwide, veterans have a 6.9% jobless rate. Unfortunately, you can't see experience. However, it does show itself during tragic times like war, and while work experience is not something that's easily seen, experts do agree that veterans have to take a new approach, learn new skills for a job market, including how to communicate their gifts and talents effectively. So, from a historical perspective, the Industrial Revolution spanned the 18th through the 20th centuries and created a myriad of jobs across the globe, in which less than 10% were STEM related. So, as you can see, we've progressed from the industrial age to the information age to where we're currently at now, which is the connected age. Today, STEM occupations account for more than 20% of jobs. The future of the economy is in STEM, says James Brown, the Executive Director of STEM Education for the Coalition in Washington, D.C. That's where the jobs of tomorrow will be. Data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics support that assertion. Employment in occupations related to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math is projected to grow to more than 9 million between 2012 and 2022. That's an increase of about 1 million jobs over 2012 employment levels. According to Brookings Institution, as of 2011, 26 million U.S. jobs, 20% of the jobs, require a high level of knowledge in any one of the STEM fields. STEM jobs have doubled as a share of the jobs since the Industrial Revolution, from less than 10% in 1850 to 20% in 2010. In fact, when you Google the word STEM, you'll receive about 55 million results in 30 seconds. The Department of Commerce Economic and Statistics Administration reports that women in STEM fields are often underrepresented, holding less than 25% of the jobs in the U.S. and 13% in the U.K. In the United States, studies have been conducted to explain this pattern, such as mechanisms in recruitment and hiring processes, On average, women in STEM fields earn 33% more than those in non-STEM professions. They also experience a smaller wage gap compared to men. However, women can be found as leaders in top professions around the country. Motivation, interpersonal skills, appearance, appearance and image, and punctuality and flexibility. A very good example of a typical work environment is the 1957 film 12 Angry Men. In the film 12 Angry Men, it explored many techniques of consensus building and the difficulties encountered in the process among a group of men whose range of personalities and age added intensity and conflict. No names were used in the film. The jury members were identified by number until two of them exchanged names at the very end, and the defendant was referred to as the boy, and the witness as the old man, and the lady across the street. Across the U.S., workplace bullying is on the rise. Often masked as bad behavior, manners, or etiquette, bullies are obvious. They throw things, slam doors, engage in angry tirades, and are insulting and rude. Others, however, are much more subtle. While appearing to be acting reasonable and courteous on the surface, in reality they are engaging in vicious and fabricated character assassination, petty humiliations, and small interferences, any of which might be insignificant in itself, but taken together over a period of time is costly to the business enterprise and poisonous to the work environment. So there are a number of stories that have been shared through Business Week, Georgetown University has done a study, Columbia University, Harvard, MIT just celebrated its 20th year of its charm school. The Center for Talent Innovation released the blockbuster 2012 study on executive presence, and the Partnership for 21st Century Skills identifies that social skills is the weakness in most workplaces today. Over the past couple of years, we have unfortunately had a couple of poster leaders with challenged professional and executive presence. First is Anthony Weiner, former congressman. His area of concern was leadership as well as communications, as he was texting photos of his body parts to friends. Next, former mayor of Toronto, Tom Ford, whose area of concern was gravitas, which included and embodied his entire leadership because of his behavior, his appearance, his communications, and of course his drugs. And then last is Jill Abramson, who is the former editor-in-chief of the New York Times. Her challenge or area of concern was communications as well as gravitas, her leadership, specifically with her staff members. People said that she was really not a nice boss. She yelled and she screamed and humiliated employees. So let's get started with the first area, first impressions. How are first impressions created? The truth is that first impressions are formed on very little information. We tend to make assumptions and judgments based on spur-of-the-moment hunches and intuition. Experts agree that we have a genetic predisposition to form fast, accurate first impressions. This intuitive ability can be traced back to our caveman ancestors who were on high alert every time an outsider appeared on the horizon, friend or foe. It's in our DNA to jump to conclusions when we meet someone new. Credibility is the quality of being trusted and believed in. Our initial unconscious process is to evaluate their credibility. Unconsciously, we're asking ourselves, do we trust and believe this person? Why do we ask? Because our overwhelming need is to feel at ease with people, especially in the presence of strangers. As we judge others, they too judge us. Remember that. The key to making a positive first impression is to focus on how you make others feel about themselves. We'll explore techniques to help you deliver a favorable first impression and consider the all-important damage control required in the event of a social blunder, even a possibly career-derailing one. Later in our session, as we take a closer look at first impressions, we'll examine a case study on how to interact. What the case study will show us is that sometimes good intentions to create favorable first impressions can be misinterpreted or even backfire, which in that case we'll have to tweak and we'll have to help assure positive opportunities for ambitious professionals. Those who create a great first impression, oftentimes in business, they are referred to as someone with executive presence and is said to be charismatic. You can feel their presence. They enumerate a certain level of power. And at the same time, they display a sincere feeling of warmth. You know they are with you. They are engaged, they listen, they have a certain authority that allows them to influence others. They are not arrogant, overbearing, and they don't bully people. They know how to empathize. Credibility. Expertise and knowledge about a topic, and people trust the knowledge shared is honest, has integrity, and therefore is believable. A person may be knowledgeable, but his or her influence will be lessened if people think the person is biased or has personal motives for advocating a position or a product. How well do you know your topic? And what is the source of your comments? What is your agenda? Likability. Our affection towards someone is likability. We are also more comfortable with extroverts because they show us more emotions. The more expressive and demonstrative someone is, the more comfortable we are with them. The introverts may not have a great eye contact. They may speak slower, softer, display fewer gestures, and we may read this as a sign of deception. They are hiding something, but likability is much about warmth and friendliness. Don't read into those signs in a negative way. You may miss an opportunity to have a great relationship with an introvert. Extroverted and introverted leaders excel in different areas and can learn from one another. Studies show that introverts are better at leading proactive employees because they listen to and let them run with their ideas. Meanwhile, extroverts are better at leading passive employees because they will have a knack for motivation and inspiration. While extroverted leaders can learn from their counterparts to make a more careful approach to risk and let others speak up, Keynes says introverted leaders need to push themselves to be more social. This is a photograph of John Lilly. He's the former CEO of Mozilla. Mozilla was a $12 billion organization. As an example, he would force himself to walk the halls and make eye contact because he hadn't realized how much he offended people when he didn't greet them. Now, this is not the kind of extrovert we are exactly referring to. This guy looks arrogant, definitely over-assuming, and this is not someone that you want to sit next to. Attractiveness. Now, attractiveness is a very controversial topic. Attractiveness is someone we identify with or aspire to. We like their physical appearance, their dress, their views, and their status. In the book Beauty Pays, Dr. Daniel Hammermesh shows attractive people are more likely to be employed, work more productively and profitably, and receive more substantial pay. I am of the belief that everyone is attractive. It is often what we do with what we have that affects our attractiveness negatively. We are a visually oriented culture, and we like symmetry. And a display of confidence also is attractive as we aspire to have that confidence. While we may find attractiveness may make you more likable, we also find likable people to be attractive. Power. When someone is perceived as powerful, influence occurs through a process known as compliance. Compliance results when the receiver accepts the persuasive influence of the source and hopes to obtain a favorable reaction or avoid punishment. Showing respect for hierarchies is the expected behavior, but don't overdo it. Don't be overly deferential. To advance to the next level, you need to be able to take your seat at the table with these people. Do talk to them, do visit with them, and take every opportunity to engage with them. The second area we'll cover are communication skills. There's typically a minimum of 3 parts to this area: body language, interpersonal communications, and virtual skills. Before we investigate their specific characteristics, let's return to the Center for Talent Innovation report for an overview. Communication encompasses a variety of verbal and nonverbal ways you express authority, convey your confidence, and synthesize and articulate your expertise in both formal occasions and casual situations. Indeed, there are no small actions. Even gum chewing tells others whether or not you are C-suite material. We've mentioned the extremely intelligent individual who appears to have been shut out from the fast track. Often the root cause is a lack of polished communication skills. The person may have great ideas but simply cannot express them. His ideas get lost in translation. translation being the operative word, because communicating effectively is a complex behavior pattern involving verbal and nonverbal skills. Communication skills are compulsory. Every single interaction means something. Email, verbal communication, everything matters. Every time you communicate, it should reflect positively on you, says Dr. Anadade, Senior Vice President and Global Chief Diversity Officer for Sodexo. Body language. Body language is the silent message we often completely ignore. During the 1960s, Professor Mehrabian became internationally recognized for his research on verbal and nonverbal communication. The frequently condensed version of his findings state that 93% of the time we are judged by how we look and act, only 7% of the time by what we say. Let's take a closer look. In his pioneering fieldwork, Professor Mehrabian made two key points. First, that there are three elements in face-to-face communications, often called the three V's: verbal, or words; vocal, or tone of voice; visual, meaning nonverbal behavior or body language. And second, visual components communicate far more than verbal. In situations where the words are not compatible with the nonverbal signals, and people tend to believe the behavior and not the verbal message. According to Professor Mehrabian, we evaluate the three V's quite differently. His findings are often called 7%, 38%, and 55% rule, or the Mehrabian 7% verbal, 38% vocal, and 55% visual. His formula was refined under research conditions where there was incompatibility or incongruence between words and facial expressions when communicating feelings and attitudes. Over the years, Professor Mehrabian has made it very clear that his formula should not be used out of context or as an oversimplified interpretation for all occasions. For example, think of a speaker addressing a large audience, or a presidential debate for that matter. Unquestionably, body language is a key component, but in this situation, we tend to be more focused on the words spoken. Of course, we absolutely scrutinize the nonverbal cues, but to the point it is that our verbal content evaluation counts for more than 7%. Let's be clear, content is still king. Your words and message are key. But if you fail to convey confidence in what you're saying, we will believe your body language. Nonverbal communication or body language includes facial expressions and mannerisms. But another very powerful nonverbal communicator is clothing. People see you before you even begin to speak. Your body is covered almost 95% by clothing and accessories that send a strong message about you. We'll tackle that whole issue of clothing when we get to EP4, appearance. The second large subheading of communications is interpersonal communication skills. According to Dr. Mehrabian's research, body language accounts for what percentage of our communication skills? Just went over this. So, body language really is 93% by how you look and act, and 7% by how you're judged. Let's move into interpersonal communication skills. Here, there's three main areas: how to command a room and work any room, casual conversation, levity, and speaking skills. How do you feel about these stats? If you look at this and you think, what are the reasons that you keep a job, get a promotion, or win a new client? There's two reasons: your technical skills and your interpersonal skills. answers for these statements are 15% technical skills are the reasons that you land a job and keep a job and get a promotion, and 85% interpersonal skills. Let's move to the area of gravitas, which is actions and behavior. So you've got the goods, you're the real deal. Gravitas is a rare combination of composure, compassion, and vision. Gravitas has two main components. The first one is about the 6 core traits of executive presence, and here they are. Confidence. So we're going to list the core traits by order of precedence, meaning their order of importance, to give you an idea of what each trait means and how we're going to introduce it. The second one is decisiveness, integrity, emotional intelligence, reputation, and vision. So if we're talking about reputation capital, you've got to be concerned about what are they saying about you? What is the reputation you've built up in your industry over the years? Here are the 9 key points that we advise you to be intimately aware of. You always want to observe and emulate. You want to watch closely the people who command respect in their organizations for behavioral cues. Proactively put yourself in situations external where you would rub elbows with individuals worth emulating. You want to increase your visibility. Actively seek a sponsor, a mentor, request to be put on a high-profile assignments, and consciously network with influential people. Be it chit-chatting with the right people before and after meetings or attending more formal events. You want to invoke your vertical in times of crisis and chaos. How you handle yourself in crisis when all eyes are on you is crucial. So figure out a technique to cope. Ask for specific feedback. As previously stressed, providing colleagues with feedback about sensitive subjects such as their appearance can be intensely uncomfortable. So it's up to you, the professional, to ease others' discomfort by inviting leaders you trust and respect to provide honest, specific feedback about how you're perceived. Provide assurance that you will receive their observations and suggestions not as critiques, but as constructive guidance, and dig deep to ensure you understand the real issues at hand. Whatever you hear, live up to your promise by listening versus reacting defensively. The choice to change will be yours. You also want to fake it until you make it, but what we say is you want to fake it until you become it. Be several questions deep. Don't be afraid to ask questions and appear unknowledgeable. Smile more often than not. People want to work with happy people. Invest in attire that fits your body and business environment. Looking polished and put together trumps glamour and high-priced designers. It need not cost a fortune to look good. Clean pressed clothes are the bread and butter of appearance. Opt for a few well-made, classic, and tailored pieces over a closet stuffed with too trendy and cheaply made options. Invest time and funds in experts such as tailors, store stylists, well-dressed friends, or mentors can help guide your attire choices. Suggest Farrow red wine. Early in their career, I tell women to go to Saks or Bergdorf's and get a personal shopper. Have someone speak with them about what works for their body type. Upper-end department stores and boutiques do not have to be your staple, but the input you'll glean from them, even from one visit, is priceless, and it can be applied for years when you shop on your own at less priced venues. Of course, some industries have a greater tolerance for conspicuous individualism, but good grooming and a polished appearance are never out of place. Occasionally, we see iconic leaders whose appearance sets them apart. Think of Steve Jobs in his ever-present black turtleneck, but these executives have earned the right to their wardrobe choices. We see Bill Gates here and Warren Buffett also. The issue of grooming is subjective, but it is also one that's very valid. Here we see our model. She is completely unmade up. To include her hair, it looks like she just got out of the shower. And here we see her more groomed, more polished, more executive looking. Which young lady would you hire, or which young lady would you want to work with you? Another example here is Governor Christie and Mayor Tom Ford of Canada, the former mayor of Toronto. Both are very large men, but when you see Governor Christie, he is always very pulled together, and he looks very polished and very much like a leader. Tom Ford had some challenges during 2013, most of which his appearance contributed to immensely. In wrapping up, let's refocus on the two primary reasons for the presentation today. First, understanding why professional and executive presence is important. Second, understanding what professional and executive presence actually is. It doesn't matter what your professional priority is: customer service, supervision, team building, or leadership. We have a number of practical techniques to teach you and can help you achieve success using professional and executive presence. Understanding that we can help you with our comprehensive training and focus you on how to demonstrate professional and executive presence in your workplace is invaluable. We guide students to make positive first impressions, have strong interpersonal communication skills, demonstrate appropriate actions and behaviors in the workplace, and a professional appearance and image, which are all critical components in eliminating problem areas like what we saw in the presentation today, which were motivation, interpersonal skills, appearance, punctuality, and flexibility. We'll build confidence and skills so that those problems do not exist in your work environment. We're excited about helping you in one of our courses. Thank you for your time today. If you have any further questions, please contact me at Panache Career Strategies. My telephone number is listed right above on the slide. And thank you again. It's been really fun.